The walls of Prescott Estate were too old for their own good, thin plaster that carried whispers like secrets eager to be spilled. I had been walking the corridor leading to the garden atrium, a book tucked under my arm, when the voices bled through the half-open door of the drawing room. At first, I thought it was nothing. Ethan's voice was familiar enough to draw me closer, warm, dependable, a sound that usually anchored me in the chaos of wealth, inheritance, and watchful relatives. But tonight, that warmth was poisoned. Her mother offered me $10,000, Ethan said, his tone laced with excitement, like a boy bragging about stolen candy. If I just back away, leave Emma to herself. Sophia says it's the smartest move. That fortune of hers is wasted on her anyway. My hand froze on the banister. I felt the book slip from my arm, landing on the carpet with a soft thud, though neither of them noticed. My pulse hammered in my ears. $10,000. That was all it took for Ethan, my Ethan, the boy who once swore loyalty under summer stars, to entertain abandoning me. Sophia's voice followed, smooth and sharp like silk hiding a blade. 10,000 is nothing compared to what's coming. If Emma's isolated, the trustees will lean on you, Ethan. You and I together, that's real power. She doesn't even know how to handle what her father left behind. Her laughter floated, careless and cruel. I pressed my back to the wall, breathing shallowly. My father's legacy, reduced to a bargaining chip in Sophia's game. And Ethan, my confidant since childhood, wasn't shutting her down. He wasn't defending me. He was nodding along, hungry for scraps of what she dangled in front of him. Emma's always been attached, Ethan muttered. This will crush her. Yes, Sophia said simply, as if my pain were a calculated detail on her ledger. My stomach churned. I wanted to storm in, to throw open the door and demand answers, but I couldn't move. My legs had turned to stone, my throat locked tight. Instead, I stood there, listening to my oldest friend barter away our bond like it was nothing more than numbers and opportunity. $10,000. That was the price tag Ethan placed on years of shared secrets, on laughter and promises, on nights spent dreaming of futures we thought we'd chase together. I staggered back, my breath unsteady, forcing myself to retreat before they noticed me. Each step down the corridor felt heavier than the last, as though I were walking deeper into quicksand. By the time I reached the sanctuary of my father's library, I collapsed into the leather chair by the fireplace, my hands trembling against the book I still carried. The fire snapped and hissed, but its warmth couldn't thaw the ice now spreading through my chest. All these years, I believed Ethan was my anchor. Tonight, I learned he was the storm. And Sophia, her mother's money was just bait. The real prize she wanted was me. Or rather, what I had inherited. The estate. The fortune. My father's legacy. I whispered to the empty room, the words tasting like ash. He was willing to sell me for $10,000. The firelight flickered against the glass cabinet where my father's journals rested. I clung to the sight of them. If Ethan and Sophia thought I'd surrender so easily, they underestimated me. The betrayal cut deep, yes, but it also burned something new into my veins. Resolve. Sleep never came that night. My body lay still beneath the heavy quilt, but my mind wandered backward, retracing years I had once held like treasures, now souring in my memory. Ethan Brooks wasn't always a stranger to me. Once, he was everything familiar, mud-streaked shoes racing me across the fields, laughter echoing off barn walls, hands pulling me up whenever I fell. I can still see us at 16, sitting on the hood of his father's old truck, watching the summer sky blaze with stars. He turned to me, face serious in the half-light, and said, promise me money will never come between us. People lose themselves in it. But not us. Not you and me. I believed him. I believed every word, because Ethan said it with that stubborn fire in his eyes, the same fire that carried us through every scraped knee, every storm, every plan we whispered when the world still felt wide and waiting. But now, that vow feels like smoke, something I held in my palms, only to realize it was never solid at all. $10,000. That's what it took for him to forget. I rose before dawn and wandered into Father's library, barefoot on the cold marble. Dusty rays of light spilled through tall windows, catching on the shelves where his journals rested. My fingers brushed the cracked leather spines, and I felt steadier just touching them. Father always said legacy wasn't about fortune. It was about stewardship, about protecting what had been built before us, so it could mean something for those who came after. His voice still rings in my mind. Emma, wealth can trap the unworthy. But you, Don't let it define you. Let it guide you. That was my compass. Not Ethan. Not Sophia. And certainly not Sophia's mother with her pitiful bribe. I pulled one of the journals free and sat at the long oak table. The pages smelled of ink and memory, filled with father's notes about land, about people, about responsibilities I was still learning to shoulder. My chest tightened with grief, but also with purpose. He believed in me, he always had. That belief had to be enough to carry me forward now. Somewhere outside, I could hear the distant hum of a car engine, Ethan's, maybe. For years, that sound meant safety, a friend arriving. Now it felt like a warning. I whispered to the silence of the library, as if father could hear me. I won't let them take this from me. Not Sophia. Not Ethan. Not anyone. The words steadied me. For the first time since I overheard them, the fear loosened its grip. The pain of betrayal still burned, but beneath it, something stronger stirred, a promise not just to myself, but to the man who entrusted me with his legacy. If Ethan wanted to sell his soul for Sophia's schemes, let him. Mine was not for sale. The Prescott Country Club always smelled faintly of cigar smoke and over-polished mahogany, a place built for handshakes and whispered deals. It had been part of my life for as long as I could remember, family luncheons, celebrations, even the occasional game of tennis with Ethan when we were younger. But this lunch felt different. This time, I wasn't walking into a sanctuary of familiarity. I was stepping into a stage Sophia Reed had already claimed. The moment I entered the dining room, my eyes caught on them. Ethan leaned in close to Sophia, his face animated in the way it used to be when he spoke only to me. She laughed softly, brushing her hand against his arm as though marking territory. My stomach twisted. I forced a smile as I approached the long table where several trustees and family acquaintances had gathered. Sophia didn't wait for me to sit. Instead, she raised her glass with practiced ease. Ethan was just telling me about the estate's vineyard, she said brightly, her eyes sliding to mine with a glint that was anything but innocent. It's such a remarkable asset. With the right marketing, it could double its revenue in a year. The trustees nodded approvingly, murmuring interest. Ethan beamed at her, proud, as though her insight were a jewel he had discovered. I sat down, my pulse heavy in my ears. The vineyard, father's pride, a piece of history we had always guarded carefully. Ethan and I used to talk about how we'd never let outsiders meddle with it. Now here was Sophia, laying claim to ideas and spaces that weren't hers. I suppose next she'll be offering management strategies for the stables too, I said lightly, my fork cutting into the salmon on my plate. My tone was casual, but my eyes locked on hers. Sophia's smile didn't falter. Only if I'm asked. But Ethan and I were just discussing how tradition doesn't have to mean stagnation. Sometimes it takes a fresh perspective to move things forward. Her words, honey sweet, stung more than if she had spat them outright. Tradition was father's word. She had no right to wield it. The table filled with polite laughter, conversations branching off, but I sat there, gripping my glass until the condensation slicked my palm. I could feel it, the slow erasure. Piece by piece, Sophia was inserting herself, weaving into conversations about matters she barely understood, and Ethan was letting her. Worse, he was encouraging her. As dessert plates were cleared, one of the trustees turned to me. Emma, what are your thoughts on Miss Reed's ideas? I smiled, steady but sharp. I think my father's estate doesn't need rescuing by someone who only just learned of its existence. Legacy is not a fashion trend, it's a responsibility. Sophia's eyes flickered, the first crack in her polished performance. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, his mouth opening as if to defend her, but I raised my chin, refusing to give him the chance. Lunch ended soon after. As I rose from the table, I felt Sophia's gaze on me, cool and assessing. She wasn't just here for Ethan's attention. She was here for everything tied to me, for the inheritance, the influence, the legacy. And Ethan, blind or willing, was helping her take it. As I stepped out into the manicured gardens beyond the club, I let the sunlight hit my face, steadying myself. The war wasn't hidden anymore. It was at the table, in plain sight, dressed in silk and smiles. And I would not let myself be erased. The annual Prescott Foundation Gala was meant to be a night of elegance, of legacy draped in velvet and champagne. I had always loved it as a child. Sneaking sips of sparkling cider while father spoke with dignitaries, watching the chandeliers spill light like liquid fire across the ballroom. This year, though, the glow felt colder, harsher, as though the crystal light was aimed at me, daring me to falter. I arrived in a midnight blue gown, the kind mother insisted conveyed stature. My mind was elsewhere, still buzzing from lunch at the country club. I told myself I would endure tonight, keep my composure, and hold on to father's words about responsibility. But the moment I stepped into the ballroom, my resolve cracked. There they were. Ethan, in a tailored tuxedo that made him look older, more polished. And beside him, no, tethered to him, Sophia Reed, radiant in crimson silk, her arm linked through his as if it had always belonged there. Together, they were a picture crafted for cameras, poised, magnetic, and entirely wrong. I hovered at the edge of the room, unseen but watching as Sophia introduced him to a cluster of potential investors. Ethan and I have been brainstorming ways to expand the vineyard operations, she purred, her voice carrying in the high-ceilinged room. It's not just about wine. It's about heritage packaged for the modern market. We want to elevate the Prescott brand. We. Her word, not mine. The investors nodded, charmed. Ethan smiled, proud as though the vineyard and legacy were already his to present. My throat tightened. The betrayal wasn't whispered in the side room anymore. It was unveiled, gilded, applauded. Lucas found me then, pressing a glass of champagne into my hand. His jaw tightened as he followed my gaze. They're parading themselves like they own the place, he muttered. Because they think they do, I whispered back. The pain burned, but beneath it, something sharper stirred. I wouldn't let them reduce me to a shadow in my own house. I stepped forward, weaving through the crowd until I was within earshot. Sophia's laughter rang out, smooth and calculated, as she leaned toward one of the investors. And with Emma's blessing, of course, we could. That won't be happening, I cut in, my voice calm but edged. Heads turned. Sophia's smile faltered only for a breath before she recovered, tilting her head toward me as though amused. Emma, darling, I was just. You were speaking as though you already had my approval, I said, keeping my tone level. Let me make this clear, you don't. The vineyard, the estate, the legacy, it isn't a business toy for outsiders to repackage. It's my father's work, entrusted to me. The circle of investors shifted, the tension palpable. Ethan's face reddened, his mouth opening to argue, but I held his gaze. You can sell your smiles and promises elsewhere. I won't be part of this, I continued, placing my untouched champagne glass on the tray of a passing waiter. If you want to play at partnerships, do it without me. I have my own path to walk. I turned before they could respond, before Ethan's excuses or Sophia's barbs could reach me. My heels clicked against the marble floor, each step deliberate, each one carving a line between us. Behind me, I could feel their eyes, Ethan's disbelief, Sophia's simmering fury, but I didn't falter. For the first time in weeks, my spine felt unbreakable. The gala music swelled, violins spilling through the ballroom, drowning out whispers as I disappeared into the crowd. Let them dance their schemes in the spotlight. My fight would be elsewhere, quiet, resolute, and mine alone. The boardroom was all polished oak and glass, a cathedral of power where silence carried more weight than words. I'd sat at this table countless times before, but today the air felt different, charged, watchful, as though every advisor sensed the fault lines running beneath us. I sat at the head of the table, my father's chair. It was too large for me still, but I'd grown into its responsibility, into the weight it carried. To my left sat the trustees, gray-haired men and women who had overseen the estate for decades. And across from me, Ethan and Sophia, side by side, as if they belonged here. I could feel their confidence radiating. Sophia wore it like perfume, her scarlet dress deliberately out of place in a room of muted suits. Ethan looked eager, sharp, every bit the loyal ally he once had been to me, but now turned toward her. One of the trustees cleared his throat, breaking the silence. Miss Carter, today's agenda includes proposals for vineyard expansion and adjustments to trust allocations. Mr. Brooks and Miss Reed have brought forward a joint presentation. The words made my stomach knot. A joint presentation. Of my estate. Sophia rose smoothly, her heels clicking against the marble floor as she moved to the front. Thank you, she began, her voice steady, charming. Ethan and I believe the Prescott holdings have extraordinary potential. With careful investment, modernized branding, and some redistribution of the trust's assets, this legacy could thrive well beyond its current limits. She spoke as though she owned it already, weaving my father's name into her pitch like it was hers to borrow. Ethan chimed in, his voice warm, persuasive. Emma's father wanted the estate to grow. He always told us it should reach more people, bring prosperity to more communities. Sophia understands that. Together, we can make that vision real. I gripped the arm of my chair, nails biting into the polished wood. He always told us. Ethan dared to use my father's words, the words I had clung to in lonely nights, in service of her ambition. Emma, Ethan turned toward me suddenly, his expression almost pleading. You should consider this. Sophia brings ideas and connections you can't ignore. She's not trying to take anything from you. She's trying to build it with us. Something inside me snapped. Build with us? My voice rang across the room, sharper than I intended. Ethan, don't pretend this is about legacy or vision. This is about greed. About betrayal. You didn't bring Sophia here because she cares about the vineyard. You brought her here because she dangled opportunity in front of you, and you leapt like a dog chasing scraps. The trustees shifted uncomfortably, murmurs rippling. Ethan's face flushed red, his mouth tightening. Sophia didn't flinch. She only watched me with that polished smile, as if my fury was the reaction she had hoped for. I leaned forward, steadying my voice. My father trusted me with this estate. His journals, his words, his blood are woven into its soil. And I will not, hand it over to someone who sees it as nothing more than a stepping stone. Not for $10,000. Not for 10 million. Not for you, Sophia. The silence that followed was absolute, heavy. I saw the shock in the trustee's eyes, the discomfort, but also something else, respect. For once, I wasn't just the heiress in her father's chair. I was the heir standing her ground. Sophia tilted her head, lips curving into that infuriating half-smile. Passion is admirable, Emma. But passion doesn't pay bills. Strategy does. I stood, pushing my chair back. Then strategize elsewhere. This board will hear no further from you on matters of my family's legacy. For a moment, no one moved. Then one of the trustees cleared his throat again, redirecting the meeting, trying to patch over the fissure. But the damage was already done. Lines had been drawn. Ethan stared at me, disbelief written across his face, as though he couldn't understand how I dared to challenge him in front of witnesses. Sophia, on the other hand, simply looked satisfied. I walked out of that boardroom with my pulse racing, my hands trembling, but my spine unbowed. Let them whisper. Let them plot. They would know now, I was not the girl to be erased. The clock on my nightstand glowed past midnight when the phone rang. Its sudden trill cut through the silence of the estate like an alarm, jarring me from the half-sleep I'd been sinking into. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. But habit, old, stubborn loyalty, made me reach for it. Emma? Ethan's voice cracked through the line, low and urgent. I sat up slowly, my body heavy with dread. Do you have any idea what time it is? I had to call, he said quickly, almost stumbling over the words. After today, after what you said in the boardroom. I can't let it end like this. You've got to understand, I'm not your enemy. I closed my eyes, pressing my fingers against my temple. Then why do you keep standing beside one? He sighed, a sound that once softened me, but tonight grated like sandpaper. Because she believes in me, Emma. She sees what I can do. You've always kept me small, safe, comfortable. But Sophia, she's showing me a future where we don't have to worry about money. Where we can build something real. I almost laughed. The bitterness in it surprised even me. You think I've kept you small? Ethan, I've shared everything with you. Every dream, every plan. You're the one who chose to measure worth in dollar signs. This isn't about the money, he insisted, but his voice wavered, betraying him. It's about us. About security. Don't you see? I'm doing this so that we, you and me, can have a future. Sophia has the connections. She has the influence. With her, I can make us stronger. Us? The word tasted sour. You're aligning with a woman who openly schemes against me, and you think that's for us. You're not protecting me, Ethan. You're protecting your own ambition. Silence stretched on the line, heavy, guilty. I rose from bed and moved to the window, the estate grounds bathed in silver moonlight. My reflection stared back at me in the glass, tired, but resolute. If you wanted a future with me, Ethan, you would have chosen loyalty over opportunity. You would have remembered the night you swore money would never come between us. Instead, you sold that promise for Sophia's scraps. Don't say that, he whispered, but it sounded more like a plea for himself than for me. I don't need wealth to build my future. I already have it. What I needed was a friend. And you failed at that. The silence grew sharper. I could hear his uneven breathing, the edge of desperation. "Emma, please, we've known each other our whole lives. Don't walk away from me." But I already had. I just hadn't spoken the words until now. "Goodbye, Ethan." I ended the call before his reply could poison me further. The phone slipped from my hand onto the quilt, the sound muffled, final. For a long time, I stood at the window, staring out over the vineyards. The moonlight silvered the rows of vines, each one planted by hands that believed in legacy, not greed. My father's words echoed through me, anchoring me against the ache of betrayal. Ethan wanted a future of wealth. I wanted a future of purpose. And the two no longer belonged together. The Prescott Art Hall glittered with light and polished marble, but the grandeur only made my skin prickle. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration, a charity auction raising funds for restoration projects. I had agreed to attend because it felt safe enough, neutral, and a chance to remind the community that the Carter name still meant integrity. But as I took my place near the front, I felt it, the shift in the room, subtle as a current beneath calm water. Conversations dipped when I passed. Smiles didn't quite reach the eyes. Whispers hummed like insects around me. I should have known. It happened midway through the evening. The host, a soft-voiced man in a tuxedo, invited Mrs. Marianne Reed, Sophia's mother, to the podium for a few words. She glided forward, every inch the practiced socialite, pearls glinting beneath the chandelier light. I gripped my champagne flute tighter. I had seen that look on Sophia before, and now I saw it reflected in her mother, sweetness stretched thin over calculation. "Friends," she began, her voice carrying with ease, "tonight we gather to honor history and preserve legacy. But legacies, as you know, must be protected by capable hands. And in these uncertain times, not every heir is prepared for such a burden." My chest tightened. I knew where this was going before she even spoke my name. "Take the Carter estate, for instance," she continued smoothly. "Young Emma Carter inherited great responsibility after her father's passing. Yet whispers persist, questions about whether she is truly ready to manage holdings of such magnitude. It is not enough to have a name. One must have vision, strategy, allies." The word allies lingered, deliberate, and my eyes flicked toward Ethan and Sophia standing near the back. Sophia's lips curved in satisfaction, while Ethan's gaze slid away, guilty, unable to meet mine. Heat crawled up my neck. The whispers erupted again, rippling through the hall. Unsuitable. Incompetent. That's what she had planted in their minds, seeds that would grow fast in fertile soil of gossip. I forced myself to rise, my chair scraping softly against the floor. The host had already begun thanking Mrs. Reed, preparing to move on, but I didn't wait. "May I?" I asked, though I didn't wait for permission. The microphone was cool beneath my hand, my reflection fractured in the glass of the podium. My voice wavered on the first word, but steadied with each breath. My father did not entrust me with his estate because of a name. He entrusted me because he knew I would protect what he built. The Carter legacy is not a stage for opportunists to posture on. It is vineyards planted by calloused hands, workers supported through hardship, communities bound by trust. The hall was silent now, all eyes fixed on me. I let them see the steel in my gaze. I may be young. I may be learning. But I am not unsuitable. What is unsuitable is manipulation. Attempts to undermine me through whispers and slander, rather than honesty. That is not a strategy. That is cowardice. I stepped back, handing the microphone to the stunned host. My hands trembled, but my chin did not lower. As I returned to my table, I caught Sophia's expression. Her smile hadn't faltered, but her eyes glinted sharper now, calculating. Her mother watched me like a chess piece she hadn't expected to move. And Ethan just looked lost, torn between admiration and shame. I sipped my champagne slowly, letting the burn settle in my throat. They wanted to humiliate me, to make me appear weak. Instead, they had revealed themselves to everyone. If this was their game, I was ready to play it. The leather chair in my father's study still smells faintly of pipe smoke, though he never let me sit in it when I was younger. Now it belongs to me, along with the walls lined in books on agriculture, trade, and law. The irony isn't lost on me, that the girl he once told to run along and play in the vineyard is the one signing the papers to protect it. Mr. Hamilton, our family's lawyer, sat across the oak desk, his half-moon glasses perched low on his nose as he adjusted a stack of contracts. He had been with my father for decades, steady and methodical, the kind of man who never blinked at scandals in the papers or whispers at the club. "You're certain, Miss Carter," he asked, voice low but firm. Establishing an independent trust division under your sole management means pushing Ethan, and anyone acting on his behalf, out of financial decision-making entirely. I leaned forward, tracing the grain of the wood beneath my fingertips. My father's desk. My inheritance. My responsibility. Yes, I said. My voice didn't tremble. I need to separate personal loyalties from business. Ethan made his choice when he stood beside Sophia. I won't allow my estate to be leveraged as their bargaining chip. Hamilton studied me a moment longer, then nodded. Very well. I'll draft the paperwork. By next week, you'll have full discretionary control. When he left, I sat alone in the study for a long while, the silence broken only by the ticking of the grandfather clock. Relief should have filled me, but instead I felt something heavier. Cutting Ethan out of business meant cutting him out of the last corner of my father's legacy we had once dreamed of shaping together. The boy who swore money would never come between us had become the man I now needed to defend my inheritance from. That evening, I found him in the garden. He was leaning against the old stone fountain, the one we used to race marbles around when we were kids. The sight of him there, framed by roses and twilight, almost tricked me into remembering who he used to be. Almost. You've been avoiding me, he said, pushing off the fountain. His smile was strained, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. Not avoiding, I answered evenly. Redirecting. His brow furrowed. Redirecting. I met with Hamilton today. I'm taking full control of the estate. I kept my gaze on him, steady, refusing to soften it. You'll no longer have access to decisions, accounts, or shares tied to my father's legacy. Shock rippled across his face, quickly replaced by indignation. Emma, you can't be serious. We've always talked about building this together. You're throwing away everything we planned. I stepped closer, the gravel crunching beneath my shoes. No, Ethan. You threw it away when you let Sophia buy your loyalty. When you let her mother call me incompetent while you stood there, silent. He opened his mouth, then closed it, words dying on his tongue. I pressed on. I won't live in your shadow anymore, and I won't let my father's estate become the stage for someone else's scheme. From this day forward, I stand on my own. If you want to chase Sophia's promises of wealth and influence, do it, but not at my expense. For a moment, only the sound of the fountain filled the garden, water spilling endlessly into its basin like time washing away what we once had. His eyes searched mine, desperation flickering beneath his anger. He whispered, voice raw. Don't do this. Don't shut me out. I turned, the roses brushing against my arm as I walked away. My voice carried back to him, calm and final. I'm not shutting you out, Ethan. You did that yourself. The night air was cool on my skin as I stepped back into the house, leaving him standing by the fountain. For the first time in weeks, I felt the ground steady beneath me. I wasn't just my father's heir anymore. I was my own protector. And I was free. The conference room buzzes with voices, sharp laughter, the clicking of laptops, the hum of ambition. Rows of chairs fill the wide hall, and for the first time in weeks, I don't feel like I'm carrying my father's legacy alone. The speaker at the podium adjusts his microphone. Sustainability isn't just for the environment, he says. It's about making choices that outlast you. That's true estate management. His words land in me like an anchor. Outlast you. My father always said the vineyard wasn't his, it was only borrowed from the next generation. And now, sitting here with my notebook open and pen moving fast, I realize this is my inheritance. Not a chain, but a chance to build. During the break, I linger near the coffee table, trying not to look like the solitary one among clusters of easy chatter. That's when I hear a voice beside me, clear and warm. You're Emma Carter, right? I thought I recognized you from the guest list. I turn and find a girl about my age, Olivia Grant. Her presence is steady, like she belongs everywhere without effort. She isn't dressed to impress with glitter or diamonds, just clean lines and quiet confidence. Yes, I say cautiously. That's me. Her smile is genuine. Your father's vineyard was legendary. My family used to import some of his wines for events. People still talk about the Carter Merlot like it was bottled sunlight. The mention of my father's name doesn't sting the way it used to. Not here, not with someone who respects it instead of trying to twist it. Thank you, I manage, and for once it doesn't feel hollow. Olivia pours herself a cup of coffee, then leans against the table. I think it's brave, showing up here, taking the reins yourself. A lot of people in our position just let others handle everything for them. I don't say Ethan's name, but it hovers on my tongue. Instead, I murmur, I don't have that luxury anymore. Her eyes soften, and she doesn't pry. She simply nods, like she understands without needing the story. Later, in the quiet of my hotel room, I scroll through my phone. Ethan's face fills the screen, arms slung around Sophia at some luxury auction, captioned, "Building the Future, Together." Another picture shows them clinking champagne glasses in tailored suits, Sophia's smile angled like a blade. Each image is a knife, but not the kind that draws fresh blood. More like an old wound that aches when pressed. I could close the app, but instead I let the ache sit with me, testing its edges. It doesn't own me anymore. Because today, I met someone who saw me as more than a pawn or a liability. Today, I started building something real. And maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of my own horizon. The ballroom gleams with chandeliers and polished marble, a cathedral built for wealth. Voices ripple through the crowd, smooth and practiced, everyone here fluent in the language of influence. I clutch my invitation card tighter, though not out of fear this time, out of determination. Olivia is at my side, calm as ever. "Stick with me," she whispers, her eyes already scanning the room. Half of these people care more about who notices them than what they actually buy. I smile faintly. Her ease steadies me, a reminder that I belong here, not because of my last name, but because I've chosen to stand here. I'm mid-conversation with an advisor when I hear it, Ethan's laugh. Familiar, sharp, designed to cut through a crowd. I freeze before I can stop myself. And then I see them. Ethan in his perfectly tailored navy suit, Sophia shimmering in gold beside him like a prize he's won. Their entrance is calculated, their smiles polished for photographers. For a moment, the past claws at me, the nights in our parents' backyards, Ethan's promises that money would never come between us. The boy I trusted seems unrecognizable beneath this sheen. He spots me before I can slip away. His smile falters, just for an instant, then reforms, brittle at the edges. "Emma." I turn, holding his gaze with deliberate calm. "Ethan." Sophia's lips curl in that smile I've learned to read, sweet for the crowd, sharp for me. "We didn't expect to see you here." "How brave." I tilt my chin. "Why wouldn't I be here? This is my world too." For once, Sophia doesn't have a ready answer. Ethan steps closer, lowering his voice so only I can hear. "You've changed. You actually." His eyes flick to Olivia chatting with a circle of investors nearby, then back to me. "You actually have people on your side now." The crack in his confidence is subtle, but I see it. The boy who thought I'd never stand without him now faces a woman who already is. I let silence answer him, my expression steady. The auction bell chimes, calling us to our seats. Ethan lingers a moment longer, searching my face for some trace of the Emma who once needed him, who would have followed wherever he led. But Emma is gone. I walk past him, my heels clicking against marble, and for the first time, I feel no pull backward, only forward. This isn't his stage anymore. It's mine. The countryside always smells like memory, fresh cut grass, old wood, and the faint sweetness of roses that still bloom in my grandmother's garden. My cousins scatter across the veranda, notebooks open, eyes bright as they wait for me to speak. "Your grandfather believed," I begin, my voice steady, "that money wasn't just for spending, it was for building something bigger than ourselves. He built schools, funded hospitals, even made sure this town had a library. That's why this inheritance matters. It's not about the numbers in the account. It's about what you choose to do with it." Little Clara, barely 12, leans forward. "So it's like planting seeds that keep growing." I smile, my chest tightening with pride. "Exactly. You plant what lasts." For a moment, I can almost feel my father standing behind me, nodding in quiet approval. My phone buzzes against the wooden table. Again. "Ethan." 11 missed calls. I press the screen down, face first, and keep talking to the children. I won't let him hijack this moment. Later, as I'm walking them back inside, I hear footsteps crunching on the gravel path. My stomach knots even before I see him. Ethan. He looks nothing like the polished figure from the auction. His tie is loose, his hair unsettled by the wind, his eyes restless. He stops a few feet from me, glancing nervously at the children before lowering his voice. "Emma, you've been ignoring me." I cross my arms. "Because I have nothing to say to you." "You can't mean that." His voice cracks, desperation spilling through. "I've been thinking about us. About the future. We could still," he falters, searching for the right words. We could still be the ones to carry all this together. Don't you see? That's what your father would have wanted. The irony almost makes me laugh. You mean the father who taught me never to put money above people? The one who believed in loyalty? His jaw tightens. He doesn't answer. I shake my head, lowering my tone. You don't want me, Ethan. You want what comes with me. That's not love. That's hunger. And I won't feed it anymore. The screen door creaks as Clara peeks out, calling my name. I glance back at her, at all of them waiting for me, and something settles inside me. I've already made my choice. When I look back, Ethan seems smaller, his shoulders slumped, like he doesn't quite know how to exist outside the shadow of what we once were. I have responsibilities now, I say softly, but firmly. Ones you'll never understand. And with that, I turn toward the children, the real future. Ethan remains on the gravel path, a ghost trying to linger where he no longer belongs. The boardroom doesn't feel intimidating anymore. The long oak table gleams under the soft light, documents neatly stacked, silver water pitchers reflecting every movement. For the first time, I don't feel like a guest here. I feel like I belong. Emma, one of the trustees says, tapping the edge of the report I presented, this projection on the scholarship fund, it's concise, practical, and forward-looking. Your father would be proud. I steady my breath, smiling. Thank you. It's not just about maintaining what he built, it's about growing it for the next generation. The words flow easily now. No hesitation. No fear that someone will dismiss me as too young or too naive. Around this table, my voice carries weight. After the meeting, Olivia links her arm through mine as we step into the evening air. You realize you've already won, don't you? Won what? I ask, almost laughing. She tilts her head. Sophia's game. All of it. She thought she could make you stumble, but you're not just standing, you're moving forward, faster than either of them expected. Her words settle into me like sunlight after rain. Later that week, I heard whispers at another gathering, a charity dinner at the city hall. Sophia had tried to undermine me again, her mother hinting to donors that I wasn't ready to manage the estate. But the words rang hollow now. Too many people had seen me, heard me, and believed in me. Influence built on truth is sturdier than whispers. I watch from across the room as Sophia scans the tables, her smile strained, her laughter a little too sharp. For once, she isn't the center of attention. I almost pity her, but only almost. Because here, among people who share my vision of legacy and stewardship, I am no longer the girl Ethan betrayed or the daughter clinging to her father's shadow. I am Emma Carter. Trustee. Philanthropist. Leader. The applause at the end of the evening isn't just for the work I presented, it's for the fact that I've finally stepped fully into my place. And as I take my seat among allies who feel like a second family, I know this is where I was always meant to be. The evening air is crisp as Olivia and I step out of the foundation's offices, the city lights flickering like scattered diamonds across the skyline. She turns to me, her eyes bright with a kind of earnest excitement I haven't seen in anyone in a long time. I've been thinking, she says, her voice low but firm, what if we start a new project in your father's name? Not just maintaining what he left behind, but something that carries his vision forward. A mentorship program, funding young people with ideas like his, giving them the chance to build, to dream. The words land in my chest like an anchor, steady, grounding. My father's legacy wasn't just wealth, it was possibility. And here is Olivia, offering me a way to give that same possibility to others. I love it, I breathe. It feels right, like something he would have wanted. Her smile is radiant, and for a moment, I allow myself to imagine it, a future shaped not by betrayal or rivalry, but by shared purpose. But then, his voice. Emma. I freeze, every muscle tightening. Ethan steps out from the shadows near the courtyard, his face pale, eyes restless. He looks thinner, worn, almost haunted. The man who once stood beside me, full of reckless charm and promises, now seems hollowed out by desperation. I need to talk to you, he says, his voice rough. Olivia glances at me, hesitant. I nod, and she steps back, giving us space. Ethan takes a step closer. I was wrong. About everything. About Sophia, about chasing money, about us. I thought I was building a future for us, but I lost sight of what mattered. I need you to forgive me. The plea in his voice is raw, but underneath it, I hear the same rhythm I've always known, fear of losing power, fear of being left behind. His eyes dart to the office building, to Olivia, to the life I've begun to carve out without him. It isn't me he wants. It's the place I've claimed, the influence I've grown. Ethan, I say quietly, my tone steady, you didn't do this for us. You did this for you. You chose Sophia. You chose money. And now that it's slipping, you're here. His jaw tightens, and for a moment, he looks like the boy I once trusted, the boy who promised me we'd never let money define us. But that boy is gone, buried beneath his own ambition. Emma, please, he whispers. Just give me one more chance. I shake my head, the weight of the moment lifting something heavy from my chest. No, Ethan. I'm done giving you chances. My future isn't with you, it never was. It's here, with people who actually believe in what my father stood for. With people who believe in me. His lips part, but no words come. He looks smaller somehow, as if my refusal has stripped away the last of his illusions. I turn away before he can see the shimmer in my eyes, not tears of loss, but of release. Olivia steps back into place beside me, her presence warm and unwavering. You okay? She asks softly. Yes, I say, and this time I mean it. More than okay. We walk away together, and I don't look back. Ethan fades into the shadows behind me, and ahead, there's light, and purpose, and a project that will carry my father's spirit into the future. For the first time, the word legacy doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like a fresh start. The study smells of leather and cedar, the same scent that used to cling to my father's jackets. The late afternoon sun slants through the tall windows, pooling across the oak desk where his journals still rest, stacked neatly, as if waiting for him to return. I sit in his chair, a journal of my own open before me. The pages are covered with my handwriting, messy in some places, deliberate in others. Notes about the estate, the foundation Olivia and I are shaping, even stray thoughts about what it means to carry someone's legacy without being buried beneath it. For a long time, this room was a sanctuary I avoided. It reminded me too much of what I'd lost. But today, it feels different. The grief is still there, woven into the fabric of the books and the stillness of the air, but it's softened, changed. It doesn't weigh me down anymore. It steadies me. I think back to everything that's happened. Ethan's voice in that first, shattering moment, his whispered plans with Sophia, the cold calculation in his tone when he chose her over me. The sting of betrayal, the humiliation of being erased, the public spectacle of Sophia's mother's words. All of it could have broken me. For a while, I thought it had. But here I am. Not broken. Changed. Ethan and Sophia are no longer constants in my mind. There is background noise now, ghosts fading into silence. Their schemes, their games, even Ethan's final desperate plea, they no longer define me. I trace the edge of my father's leather-bound journal with my fingertips, remembering his voice. Money is a tool, Emma, not an anchor. Build something with it, but never let it shackle you. For the first time, I understand what he meant. My inheritance isn't just about numbers in a trust. It's about choice. It's about creating, giving, moving forward. Olivia's proposal runs through my thoughts, bright and alive, the mentorship program, the foundation's expansion, a future that carries my father's spirit but also reflects my own. That's my compass now. Not Ethan's approval, not Sophia's envy, not fear of what others think. Just the work, the people I trust, and the values I choose to honor. I pick up my pen and write one final line in today's entry. I am no longer protecting a legacy. I am living one. The words steady me. I close the journal, resting my hand on the cover for a moment before standing. The study feels warmer now, touched by the setting sun. Where once I saw shadows, I saw light streaming across the shelves, gilding the room in gold. I step out with a quiet smile. Ethan and Sophia belong to the past. My future is mine, and it begins here.